welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month I interview couples who tell their story about how they met. Today's show is going to be different. Today's a montage of all the couples that we interviewed during season 2. It's a great show, so sit back and enjoy.
So I had to borrow money from my mother to get back to base even, but it was not that bad.
Okay, so you met at the fraternity party.
No,
she set up a blind date for us the next day.
Okay.
And she called me, I made a blind date for you, and we were all going out.
Oh, so it was a group. It was a group.
The 4 of us.
Okay.
I says, okay. I says, I don't want to go on a blind date. She says, well, we already made it, and you got to go. And my mother says, don't be stupid. You're going to go. You don't do that she made that, you're going to go.
They gave me $20, which was a lot of money at that time, but it had to cover the time I was there and getting back to base.
Okay.
But I dropped her off. The movie was so interesting to me, I paid no attention to her whatsoever.
Oh.
I didn't put my arm around her, nothing. And when I took her home, I said, I'll drop you a line. And I did. I got a 3-cent postcard, drew a line across the top of the postcard and said, I'm not shipping out, save the weekend for me.
Oh, so you were interested in her.
Oh, that was no problem. It was easy. It was not, I don't know, it was just comfortable in every way.
Anyway, I got this phone call. I came home and I got a job at Bullock's and I was working there. And I got a phone call from him. And he says, there's a party I'd like to take you to. And I wonder if you'd like to go.
Well, wait a minute. Had you met?
No.
Oh.
I've gotten her phone number from one of my Stanford friends.
Okay.
So I said, I don't even know you, and no, I don't want to go to a party with you. But if you come to where I work, I can take a break and we can talk. So at Bullock's, I was at the very top of the escalator, and I sold handbags and things, and I could see him coming up. Because, in those days, boys this age didn't go to Bullock's.
Right.
They were busy doing other things. And he was easy to spot. His hair was blonde as could be. And he came up to me right at the top of the stairs, there I was, and he said, I'm looking for Lynn Beck, or probably he said Nancy Beck, I don't know. And so I glanced over at a bunch of older people, and I saw him looking over there. And I thought, no, it's me.
And we met, and I said, I don't have time for this. He's not my type, blah, 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 blah. And so I just discounted it. And 2 weeks later, my phone rings at the theater, and he says, are you ever going to call me? And I said, who in the hell is this? I had no idea.
Great beginning.
Yeah. And so he said, let's go out. And I said, oh, okay. And we went out and had dinner, and we sat and talked for hours. He was nothing like I thought. And we've been together ever since.
And this cute gal walks by, and as she's walking by, she turns and she says, if you ever want a passenger, I have my own helmet. And it's blue, just like your motorcycle. And I go, wow, these Laguna women are pretty forward.
I never stopped. I just said it and I just kept walking.
Yeah.
So
and then I took off on a motorcycle.
That's the real story. That's the real story.
How did we meet?
My mom and your aunt Lulu were volunteers in a hospital. And I used to do a plant business, and I watered plants in their hospital. And they introduced us on a blind date in June of 1983.
Like the first week of June. You were supposed to be set up with my cousin who lived up in San Francisco. But he didn't want to come down to LA, so I was second choice.
But you won. You did
Well,
win.
5 months later we were married.
You were married 5 months later?
So were we.
Yeah.
Yes,
We were-
5 months later.
We met in June, married in November, had our first child in August.
9 months later.
All right, let's get to business. How'd you meet?
In a bar. I came to California because a friend of mine wanted to start a business. He was in the glazing business, and we were going to start a glazing business. And so I was working with him, and I was on a project in Santa Monica, and I was living in Laguna Village, which is close to Brea. And they have a problem with their phone system out there anytime it rains a little bit, so we had a slight rain, and I couldn't make a phone call. I needed to contact him. So I went to the Brea Mall to use a payphone, which they still have.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, but no, I don't know if they do now.
This is 1986.
And when I was on the phone, I heard some music. And so they have a restaurant there. Gilhooly's restaurant was in the mall. And they had a little bar that went with the restaurant. And there was a David Meister Weinreich was his name. Was
Or Anderson.
Or Anderson, was it? Okay, he was playing the guitar and singing, and I liked it. And so I was hungry. I went in and bought a hamburger and a Coke. And Linda was sitting on a bucket studying.
I was the bartender.
Oh, you were the bartender?
Yeah, she was the bartender and the server.
Oh.
Well, I was living in California at the time, and I was going to move back to Pittsburgh. And I was not married at the time. And so I was, people in those days, you did online dating sites. So I was looking for somebody who would live near, or in Pittsburgh, and somebody who was a real family man.
And you were, at that moment, living in California?
Yes, I was.
But you were looking for somebody in Pittsburgh?
Because that's where I was going to move.
All right.
And so I contacted Rob through this dating site, and we started, I guess, chatting back and forth.
You're in California, and he's in
The Pittsburgh area.
Yes.
Pittsburgh area, okay.
And then we started talking to each other, and we would spend hours on the phone. And before we even met, I felt like we were best friends. It just...
How long did this go on?
Well, we finally met in the spring of 2001.
Okay, so let's go on to the really important thing. How'd you meet?
You can tell that one.
Oh, well, we both lived in the same apartment complex in Phoenix, and I would see him walking around, but he wasn't a bit interested in me because he was dating another woman. And then he had a dirt bike, motorcycle, and my brother was a professional motorcycle racer when he came back from Vietnam in LA. And so I was a little bit interested been around them.
Right.
And so he'd be out working on his bike in the parking lot, and I'd stop and try to have some conversation.
Was he still involved with this other woman?
Oh, I guess, I don't know. It was not real serious. But anyway, so, and then I was impressed with him then, but then he was impressed with me because I had a color TV.
How'd you meet?
Match.com.
Match.com?
Really?
Seriously.
How does that work?
Well, I know for myself, I come out of a 12-year relationship, and I thought, I'm done with relationships. I need somebody to play with, to go and to movies with, go sailing.
Pickleball.
Pickleball. Well, I didn't know too much about pickleball in those days.
Right. Nobody did.
No, so I thought, well, I've heard about this online stuff. At our age, you don't go to pubs and bars anymore, well, you do now that we live here, but that's what we did. And I found a picture of her where she was sailing, and I thought, perfect person to.
Right.
to meet.
I also was not looking for a partner, having just come out of a horrible relationship myself. We essentially went online for the same thing. I was looking for somebody to play with.
Right.
Jan was actually out of my age range, because they always ask you what age. Right. Didn't really matter to me. Right. And so I get a text one day through Match.com from this lady who's out of my age range, asking me to not look at her chronological age, but her spiritual age. I am active, I do lots of things, and I'm looking for someone to play with.
Right. All right. Now we can get to business. How did you meet?
Well, I dated a girl who rejected me and left me for a trumpet player.
A trumpet player?
Yes.
What instrument did you
It was
play?
a friend of mine who played the trumpet, and she liked him. So anyhow, she put me on to her cousin, who was Barbara. And I called Barbara, and I said, we should get together. And Barbara suggested that I come over with a couple of my boyfriends, and she would have a couple of her girlfriends. And so that's what we did. We went down to our recreation room. I played my ukulele for them, and then I didn't call her for 6 months. I don't know. I just know that being married to this lady for so long has been a wonderful experience for me. I am an uneducated, unsophisticated person, and I married this wonderful, beautiful, educated, and sophisticated person, and she has helped me through my trials and tribulations, and I love her very much, and I'm grateful that we've had this wonderful, wonderful marriage, and we've been together for so many years.
I just graduated got my master's degree up in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I was interning in Rome, Georgia, and they invited me to come work for them. And after I graduated, so I went down there and worked. A lot of my friends worked in Greenville, South Carolina, where Carrie was, and they said, "Oh, come down. There's a big balloon festival. We'll have a good time for the weekend." So I did. And my friend Tom has said there's guys across the hall that had said, "Party, enter at your own risk," and bring girls. So Tom asked Christine and I to go with him to that party, so we did. But unbeknownst to all of us at the time, all three of us met our future spouse at that party.
How interesting.
Had to leave early, but I gave her my business card. I said, "Next time you're in town, why don't we get together?" Well, she didn't call me. But
I kept it in my wallet. And my friends called me again and said, "Hey."
Okay, so first you met July 4th, now it's Halloween.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my friend said, "Hey, remember those people, Don and Keith, where we crashed their party? They'd moved, but they have a party going on at their other place. Why don't you come down? They'd like to see you again." So I showed up at the party with my friends Chris and Tom, and he showed up.
Oh, were you in costumes?
Yeah, well, me and my friend we went as the Zebra Sisters, and then our friend Tom was a vampire, and then tell them what your costume was.
yeah, I had these weird googly eyes that looked like Igor from that movie Young Frankenstein, and I showed up, and she was there again, and I said, "Oh, yeah, I remember her." And
did you guys go hoping you would see the other person?
We did. We kissed at the end of the night, and
in 73, mid of August 73.
Two. No.
Two, I'm sorry. A girl I knew and I hadn't seen in over a year was out as a guest with someone, and she happened to live in the same town as Judy, and she knew that I knew people in her family.
Oh.
From the first time we met.
You knew people in Judy's family?
I knew people in Judy's family, her cousins.
Oh.
And she said,
Even though she was from New Jersey?
Yeah. They all lived in New York.
Oh, okay.
I played basketball with one, and another one lived in my building. Okay. But they said, "Oh, such and such's cousin is in the house next door to you. She's not out this week, but she'll be out next week." So the next week,
We met.
I went over there, and we spent the whole weekend just about together. And we were together mostly.
So when I went the second day and I saw Gul, I said, this is a good, interesting place. There are nice looking girls over here. I was hired and I started to work, I think, in a day or two. But I was excited that there were nice looking girls working at the hotel. So as things could have it, I got the job in the restaurant, which was right next to the reception. So I had to find several stupid reasons, unnecessarily, to go and get to know her.
All right, now, how'd you meet?
About 11 o'clock at night.
You were 25.
I was 25, just pushing 25, on my couch in my living room.
So he came in the door just as I was getting ready to leave, and I looked at him and thought, because they were mostly younger kids, because his sisters were younger.
She could buy the beer for the party.
And that was
it.
why I joked and said the only reason they wanted me was so I could buy the beer.
So I got this. She went home, woke her mom up, and told her all about me.
This is the teenage sister.
We go to her birthday party. And
That's what your sister told you?
Yeah.
So we were at this recreation center, and I see her on the other side of the swimming pool. So I walk this way. She walks this way. I walk this way. She walks. She didn't speak to me all night.
So I went down to visit her, and she fixed me up with Leon the first night, and so we hit it off, And then the good thing was when he didn't have any money because it was payday a few days. So she
military pay was extremely low. It was like $60 a month or something like that. But it was like just incredible.
And it was the end of the month, so you could already...
So she said, well, Carol's on a diet. You don't have to worry about it. So he put whatever money he had, $1 or something, to get gas, and we just drove around and talked, and we just really hit it off.
How nice. And how'd you meet?
That's a funny thing, because you reminded me, I thought I met him at a dance. Then he reminded me, no, that we had met. A very funny story that we met once before. You want to tell that story?
So I transferred schools to Trenton State College, which was primarily a teacher's college at the time, and majored in business education. And when I got down there, I used to go to the student union after class, and as a transfer student, trying to meet people is not easy.
Right.
And so I was sitting having coffee and cigarette with some folks. And
sorority sisters.
One of them was a sorority sister.
Yeah.
And she comes walking over and she had a cigarette, asked for a light. So I pulled my Zippo lighter out and I lit it. And I'm standing there holding the lighter lit. And she's talking away, and I said, what the hell do you think? I'm the Statue of Liberty?
A young woman at a hostel named Harriet who wanted to see the Byzantine mosaics. I had studied them, but I'd forgotten about them. But we went and wound up sitting next to him at the church, waiting, I think, for a service to be over. And it all started.
So your mother must have been so happy. Here you're traveling around all over the place, and you came home with a husband.
Right.
A
doctor's husband.
Wait. So I have a question for you. Okay, so you met in the Byzantine chapel, and then what happened? Then you had this travel person, and you were by yourself.
He had a car.
And you had a car. Oh. And you had a car.
And Harriet and Eileen were going to Venice. And so I said, instead of taking your rail train, come with me.
Oh my God.
Right.
And we drove up to a beach on the Adriatic, and Eileen went swimming, and she had a bun on top of her head, and she took the bun down because it was wet and it was down below her rear end. And I immediately fell in love with her hair.
It was June of 22, where we met at Clubhouse 5.
Ooh.
which, you know, there is
There's
romance
hope. There's
to be,
hope for everybody.
There's hope for everybody. I was not expecting, there's just, it was the dance. The first time we danced, I think there was a connection.
A bunch of guys had a party looking for a bunch of girls to come to the party because we were all engineers. And one of the hosts of the party had met a woman, and it turns out they now live here in Laguna Woods too.
They're very dear friends of ours. Yeah, they came first.
Have they been on my show?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Try to get them on.
Okay, good.
But Linda showed up at that party, and we struck up a conversation, but did not see each other for a while. She dated a friend of mine first.
Oh.
I was told that if I asked her out, she would say yes.
And who told you this?
Well, some friends. They had it locked down.
Okay.
And then I asked her
Engineers.
out, and she said no.
Did people approach you to find out?
Not really. Well, someone had asked, "Oh, do you remember Gary?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," because he was a total cutie.
Okay. And then, okay.
So
how'd you meet?
On a double date.
You met on a double date?
Yes.
In high school?
We were both in high school.
But I was not his date. Actually, no, I wasn't his date.
That's right, you weren't.
But after that date, Neil called the other fellow and said, "I'd like to take Lynn out." And he said, "Be my guest."
First time we met at a party in 1967. So I was 17 and she was 16. She belonged to a religious girls group, the BBG, and I belonged to the male version, AZA.
Yeah.
And I lived in Westfield, she lived in Morristown, and we spent our time plotting how to get to the girls, and we had a party with the girls in Morristown.
How far away were you?
And I remember going into this house, one of the girls' houses there, their parents' house, and coming right up to Karen and said, "Hi, I'm Bob Napak."
With this emphasis on, I'm Bob Napak.
And you said?
And I said, well, first I was shocked that this guy was standing right in front of me, because I was looking behind, because when they opened the door to come in, it was really cold, so I gave them a really dirty look, I thought. And then I turned around.
Okay. The funniest thing you probably would enjoy is that right at the end of Bible school, we were thinking about dating, but I wasn't sure. And so I had one evening where I was babysitting for one of the teachers, and it was his cabin, and it was quiet, and just got the baby to bed, and I thought, finally I have time to myself, and it was quiet, and it was snowing outside, and there was a knock on the cabin door, and I opened the cabin door, and Tom is standing there in this ridiculously red snow jacket.
I was cold.
And he says, "Singing telegram, let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with
Oh, how sweet.
you." And the baby started crying, and I looked at him and said, "You cannot be here." And I closed the door in his face.
I got over it. It's all good.
At that point, were you a couple?
Well, the next morning I said, "Listen, maybe it's not a good idea for us to think about this till we're finished with Bible school. So why don't we talk about it after we're back at our jobs?" And he said, "Fine."
6 hours later, I was told to call her to ask her to the talent show
His
that
friend,
night.
yeah.
Who was one of the pastors there. And I said, "Mike, she has told me that, just wants to be friends." And I said, "That's fine." He goes, "Worf, call her. Here's the phone. Do it now. This is your time." I go, "Okay, I'll do it. Why don't you dial it?" So he dialed it, and I called Claire, and I said, "Would you like me to pick you up for the talent show tonight?" She goes, "I'd love to. I'd like to come."
No, I was just feeling miserable after I told him that.
Oh.
And he said, "You want to go to the farewell banquet with me?" I said, "Okay."
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.